You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune into The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99, WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night,
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Winter is the perfect time to start planning for your healthy, pest-free spring lawn with True Green, America's #1 lawn care company. True Green's science-based approach and local expertise will help give your lawn the year-round care it needs to be thick and weed-free. Go to truegreen.com. Just call 866-946-5956 or go to truegreen.com today and get a lawn to be proud of.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. The Tuesday night TNT doubleheader starts off with Lakers at Grizzlies. That game can be seen at 7:30 Eastern. The second part of the double dip, Timberwolves are at the Clippers. Other games of interest in the association, Hawks at home versus the Wizards. That's at 7:30 Eastern in State Farm Arena. Bucks are at the Nets. Bulls at Raptors. The Kings travel to the Thunder at 8 Eastern, while the Trailblazers are in Golden State at 10. Men's college basketball tonight, 6:30 Eastern on FS1. Marquette travels to Butler, while at 7:30 Eastern you have Clemson traveling to Virginia on the ACC network. Iowa's at Indiana on the Deuce. And the Patriot League tournament begins. Bucknell at American University on the Plus. Holy Cross at Loyola, Maryland. Both games tip at 7. The Horizon League, IUPUI at Robert Morris. Green Bay at Wright State, while Purdue Fort Wayne travels to Detroit Mercy. On ESPN tonight, NC State is at Duke. Georgia Tech travels to Syracuse. That can be seen on the Plus. It's not quite the world's greatest outdoor cocktail party, but the Florida Gators and Georgia Bulldogs will hunker down in Athens, 7 o'clock Eastern on the SEC Network. Great A10 matchup on CBS Sports Network, 7 Eastern. St. Louis travels to VCU. On 8:30, Villanova's at Seton Hall on FS1. 9 Eastern, ESPN, Texas Tech at the Kansas Jayhawk. Rock Chalk right now sitting on the 1 seed line. And on the Deuce at 9, the Tennessee Volunteers host the Arkansas Razorbacks. CBS Sports Network has San Diego State at Boise State. Battle of the top two teams in the Mountain West. Sitting on the couple of late tilts. Fresno State at New Mexico on FS1, 10:30 Eastern. 11 Eastern, CBS Sports Network. Colorado State at San Jose State. Major League Baseball spring training today. Matchups of interest. Braves are at the Twins in Fort Myers. Yankees at the Rays. Cards at Nats. And Cubs at Brewers. With the Blue Jays traveling to the Phillies, Astros and Mets squaring off in Port St. Lucie, and the Padres battle the Giants in Scottsdale. The Atlanta Falcons have released quarterback Marcus Mariota. Getting Mariota off the team will save Atlanta $12 million against the cap this season. Carolina Panthers will meet with free agent quarterback Derek Carr this week at the NFL Scouting Combine. Carr, who is expected to arrive Tuesday in Indy, also has visited the Saints and Jets this offseason. The four-time Pro Bowler will meet again in Indy with representatives of both the Saints and Jets. Los Angeles Dodgers shortstop infielder Gavin Lux will miss the 2023 season with a torn ACL in his right knee. Veteran Miguel Rojas is expected to handle the bulk of the playing time at shortstop, but now we'll have to pivot with Chris Taylor as the most likely number 2 on the days off. Lux was carted off the field Monday after suffering the injury while running the bases from second to third during LA's spring training game against the San Diego Padres. And Chicago Cubs right fielder Seiya Suzuki, who is dealing with the left oblique tightness, withdrew from Japan's roster for the World Baseball Classic. World Baseball Classic opens a week from tomorrow, March 8th, and ends on March 21st. Japan opens March 9th in the Tokyo Dome against China. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Rum and Cokes.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pub call. Really, this is what you're doing? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
Radio station. The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. We've got an update on the jockey this hour. You're not going to want to miss this.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Yeah, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? Welcome to Braves Country. I'm Mac McGee. We're going to get you going here in just a second on Braves Tuesdays and Fridays. We're going to try to do a Braves report to lead off the show, kind of get you in the know of what's going on. So just be ready for Braves updates because the season is here. And we'll be doing ball games Tuesday and Friday nights on Braves Country HD. The Key will pick up some of them, but I just want to get in the habit of twice a week, just kind of giving you an update no matter what. Now, obviously, we talk Braves all the time, but this is just going to kind of give you an idea. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the Atlanta Braves bullpen, and we're going to look at the other bullpens from the other two contenders in the league and kind of size them up. Now, you see right there, I'm sharing the score on the screen because it is of interest for Braves Country HD. If you are streaming, if you're on the Key, we'll keep you abreast. The Braves trail 9-6, and that game is in the top of the 7th inning, and Atlanta is playing the Twins on the road, and we'll get into the statistics here in a second. I'm going to try to expand there we go. That way you get a kind of a much better look at the score and what's going on. Dean is at the bat. So the Atlanta Braves, when you look at what's going on with the team itself, and we all know, I think it's been kind of beaten to death about the shortstop and the left field. Those are the two biggest question marks. And I still think it's going to be some version of a platoon system, maybe not a true platoon at shortstop, but it will be there will be at bats for Arcia regularly throughout the year. Now, barring any injury, Grissom is expected to start the majority of the games, but I'm still thinking 40, 45, maybe even more games are going to be started by Arcia at the shortstop position, and then he'll also be able to give Ozzie Albies the day off at second. So I kind of suspect that between that and the designated hitter role, because from time to time you're going to want to give Darno or Murphy the day off and not have to have them DH. I think Arcia is going to be in the lineup quite a bit this year. Orlando Arcia is going to be a much bigger part of our lineup than what people are probably thinking about at this point, this juncture. But I'm looking at him to get 1, maybe 2 starts a week at short, 1 start a week at second. Though Ozzie likes to go to the post a lot, they're going to try to keep him healthy and fresh. And they might put him at DH from time to time. And so you sprinkle in probably 1 more DH. I think Arcia is going to be in the lineup, in the starting lineup card, 4 times a week regularly. Sometimes more, sometimes maybe a tad less, but he has proven week after week, day after day of this Atlanta Braves organization that he belongs in that lineup regularly. So I'm here for that. Now, as far as Atlanta, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at their bullpen first, and then we'll scale it back and go to the Mets and then go to the Phillies, because right now that's the betting favorites in Vegas. Right now, the Mets are a slight favorite over the Braves for the NL East champion, but it really depends on what book you're at, because I've seen some books that have the Braves a slight favorite. I have seen some books that have by the way, breaking news, this just came across. This is huge news in the National Hockey League. Patrick Kane just got traded to the Rangers. Patrick Kane just got traded to the New York Rangers. So how about that? All right. Back to the baseball, and we'll keep you updated if anything else pops across. But that just came across the ticker, so we'll keep you going on with that. I know there's a lot of hockey fans out there that listen here to the Key, and that is a huge, huge deal. Kane going to the Rangers. Of course, Patrick Kane, a household name in the NHL. All right. As far as the betting favorites, as I was saying, I'm seeing most of them somewhere between the Braves and the Mets, depending on the book, somewhere between plus 120 to plus 140 to win the division. That's not, and the fact that both of them are usually separated by like plus 10, that's minimal. So basically, they're the two front runners. The Phillies are the ones that are closer to the plus 200 range. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Philadelphia to make a hard charge and maybe even win the division. But with that being said, they're going to have big time, and I mean big time, contributions from their bullpen. So that's why I'm focusing on the bullpen today. Now, obviously, Iglesias is going to be the number one guy, the closer. I do believe AJ Minter is going to come in against lefties and match his way up with that. Joe Jimenez, big trade acquisition, hard-throwing right-hander, him and Colin McHugh, and hopefully Nick Anderson, Dylan Lee, Lucas Luque. This is a deep, deep bullpen. And it's a bullpen that Atlanta, I don't think people are jumping up and down, even in Braves country, about this bullpen, because I don't think they realize how deep this bullpen is. I look, Jackson Stevens, who is not really a slouch, he's a solid right-handed guy. I think on a lot of teams, he would be your seventh, maybe even your eighth inning guy. He's going to be at the very front of the bullpen. He's going to be one of the guys that's going to go in when the game is 3 or 4 runs one way or the other to try to keep the rest of guys fresh. You've got a couple other guys that they're hoping to be big time. Now, I'm still on the fence on whether I believe it or not, but a lot of folks are calling for Kirby Yates to have the kind of bounce back season to make him a favorite for comeback player of the year. I've got to see it to believe it. I do think he breaks Florida with the team, but he's going to have to prove it in the early on, or he can end up in the DFA slot. Jackson Stevens in the front of the pen, as we mentioned. Minter and Lee, those are 2 solid lefties. Then remember, of course, we also got Colby Allard that came in, and he is probably being slated for more a long relief, front of the pen guy, but another left-hander. And when you have him and you have Lee and you've got Luque is going to be a key part, because remember, Tyler Matzik is done for the season. Tyler Matzik is not expected to pitch at all in 2023. Elbow surgery. They hope to have him back next year, and they hope that they did pick up his option, so they're gearing him to be ready next season, right? But even with that being said, they're going to have to piece everything else together. And Lucas Luque coming over from the Yankees, I know he's not well known. He's an older arm, 35 years old, but he's a left-hander, 6'4", 205, and he's an old Texas boy, and he will bring it. And the Yankees have had some pretty good success with him. Joe Jimenez, I honestly expect to start off, and everyone will get their chance, but I think the 3-headed bullpen to start the season off, assuming Nick Anderson doesn't slide his way in, I figure Nick Anderson is going to be more to the 6th, 7th inning to start off, and he'll kind of lead into McHugh. But the back of that bullpen, I expect Iglesias to be asked to slam the door, sometimes Minter, depending on righty-lefty, but Minter to be your setup man from the left side and Joe Jimenez to be your setup man from the right side. And you've got 2 hard-throwing, a righty and a lefty, to set up Iglesias, who has that nasty sinker. And, of course, the Braves have him for the next couple of seasons on top of this, so he's not going anywhere. They're paying him, $15, $16 a year, whatever it is, and he is going to be asked to be the guy that he was back in Cincy, and he pitched pretty well in L.A., but L.A. decided to tear it apart because they basically had to. And then, of course, let's not forget about the fact Jesse Chavez is another guy that the Atlanta Braves would expect to be on the roster this year. And he is a great piece to have, and I would be shocked if he doesn't make the team. All right, looking over, if we scroll over now and we go to the New York Mets, what have they done in the offseason with the bullpen? The big thing with the Mets is this. I think the biggest thing that they did to strengthen their team in the bullpen is that they made sure that Diaz wasn't going anywhere. So they locked down Diaz, Edwin Diaz, 5 years, $100 million. And I know Cohen's got the money. That's not the question. But the question to me is a guy who, and he's elite, but we know how these closers are. And sometimes when they fall off the rails, they fall off the rails. You just locked him up for $100 million over the next 5 years. He better be worth it, because even with the money that Cohen has, he has other owners in his circle. They're not going to want to just print money. They do want some kind of a return when it's all said and done. But Diaz coming back, he was the best closer in baseball last year. He looked like one of the best closers in all of baseball before he came over into Seattle, from Seattle. And then when he ended up getting over to New York, he just had a bumpy ride when he first got there, but he straightened it out. It's nasty. You get to him, it's almost an automatic win. So that's the back end. The question is, how do you get there? And I think they've got some big time question marks. If you look at the Mets projected bullpen right now, Adam Ottavino, he's solid, but he's had his hiccups over times. David Robertson is a good setup man at this point in his career. He can no longer close. He doesn't have that stuff. So I think that's a solid couple of setup guys. What you'll notice is their lack from the left side. And then they'll finish off with Brandon Berger, Drew Smith, and John Curtis. Now, I believe Drew Smith is going to be a guy that they're high on, but he'll probably start off the 7th inning, right? And when you look at what they have in the bullpen, I was looking at the New York Mets entire roster right now, what they have in the bullpen. Joey Lucchesi, David Peterson. If Peterson doesn't end up in the rotation, he's probably going to be someone that they're going to lean on in the bullpen. The thing about Peterson is they always like to try to keep him stretched out a little bit so he can make spot starts. So I don't know if they're willing to put him in the back end until later in the season. So he might be a 2-3 inning guy at a time. And he had a pretty good outing yesterday. But you look at the rest of their bullpen, Brooks Raley trying to make the team, Nick Zwack. I mean, this team is light on the left-handed side of the field. On the left-hand side of the bullpen, excuse me. So I definitely rank the Braves bullpen top to bottom, not necessarily the closer, but the Braves bullpen top to bottom it's stronger than the Mets. You look at the Phillies, and they went out and got Kimbrel, and Kimbrel is being expected to be the closer. But I don't know. I don't know if he would be my closer, because he has not done closer type things the last several years. Right now, he's being projected as the closer. But to me, for what I saw last year in the postseason, Dominguez should be the closer. If Kimbrel's not the closer, the problem is he doesn't fare very well as a setup guy. There's just something in between his ears that does not let him be a good setup man. They tried him in Chicago. He fell off the rails in Los Angeles. They gave him a 1 year, $10 million prove-it deal this year. I really feel like that it was a stretch by Philly, so I'm not big on that. Dominguez is good. Alvarado is good. They did bring in Gregory Soto. So they've got some back-end pieces that if they play to their top ability, you could be talking about a solid bullpen. And then, of course, you could always add pieces come the deadline. But right now, if they're not going to put Dominguez in to close, and they're expecting Kimbrel to close, to me, it's a wait and see. So I've got to put Philly's bullpen third in the, and you know what? There's a part of me that says the Marlins bullpen could be better. it really hinges on can Kimbrel close, because if Kimbrel can't close, I have no faith in him in any other role. So there you have it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, college basketball tournaments, the jockey's been in the news. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. Let's go.
You're a cop, huh? No, what I am, Sonny, is about 50 pounds heavier and one hell of a lot meaner, so you better straighten up your act. I don't think I like it.
The Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family, have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is handpicked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to DixieHandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, a proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Wendy's only makes one kind of breakfast, your new favorite one. How do we do it? With fresh cracked eggs, oven-baked bacon, and flaky croissants. You know, the things your old breakfast wasn't doing. So toss that old news and its soggy eggs somewhere useful. And get to Wendy's. A sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant, bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant, and honey butter chicken biscuit. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
The price and participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
Yeah, the Armchair Quarterback, he's kind of fun and he's kind of fat. The All-American
Welcome
man.
back here on Braves Country. Taking you all the way to the 5 o'clock hour where the Brian Snow Show will come your way. And I stopped by Brian's show today. Think I'm due on there about 5:15ish, somewhere in that neighborhood. But it actually might have, I have to double check with them. Might be getting bumped into the very beginning of the show. So wild day here on Tuesdays. And then of course, here in a few weeks, we're going to be doing baseball games and on Tuesday nights. And so it will be 24/7. I start my AM job. I usually get up around 6. And Tuesdays, that's going to be a long one. That is going to be a long one. Real quick on the scoreboard update, as the Atlanta Braves are trailing Minnesota 9-7. That game is in the top of the 8th. I'll get to the stats here in 1 second. Did want to hit some other scores real quick. Rays are dumping the Yankees 12-0. That game is in the bottom of the 8th. Obviously, this is all spring training scores. You've got Cardinals 5-3 over the Nats in the 8th. Brewers and Cubs just got going. They're scoreless. Red Sox Marlins tonight. That game is at 6:40. So you do get an evening game. You don't get a lot of them during spring training, but you do get an evening game. Next Tuesday, Braves Red Sox right here. 6:05 first pitch. We'll start the broadcast a little before 6, but looking forward to that. And I think the pregame shows will typically be about 15 minutes before the first pitch. So if you want to catch the pregame show, Braves Country HD. Did you see this news? Galvin Lux Gavin Lux, excuse me, torn ACL out for the season for the Dodgers. That's a big deal. And look, I know that they went and they got Rojas from the Marlins, which is I think that's one of the most under the radar, solid, sharp trades made of the offseason. We know that the Braves made a really good deal to go get Sean Murphy, right? We're expecting big things. But Miguel Rojas is a solid shortstop. And man, is that trade even bigger right now. And I saw an article right before I jumped on here. Pretty solid rumor. Or a rumor starter. A good idea. You know, the Yankees have been trying to dump IKF for a minute. And they might find a suitor in the Dodgers. So we'll keep tabs on that. Rest of spring training scores real quick. Pirates 7-4 over the O's. That game is in the 8th. Phillies 7-2, top of 9. And Tigers and Blue Jays. The Blue Jays lead at 6-4. That's in the 8th. Astros 5-3 over the Mets in the 7th. Angels and A's scoreless. They just got going. So did the Reds and Dodgers. They're scoreless. Rangers jumped out to a 1-0 lead in the 1st. Guardians 2-0 over the Royals. And Padres 4-0. That game is in the 2nd. A couple other games. Guardians 1-0 over Mariners in the 1st. And the Diamondbacks have an early 1-0 lead over the White Sox. As far as the Braves, what have they done today? Who has played? I did see Vaughn Grissom got a double. I wanted to check some of the stats here. So looks like, and it was a road game, so we didn't get a lot of the starters playing. Looked like it. So I'm thinking most of the starters didn't travel because Pilar got the start in center field. How about Pilar today? 2 for 3. He's batting .333 for the spring, slugging .833. And remember something else. He had that stolen base, and that is key. We didn't do the depth of the bench yet, and I might do that this Friday. But Kevin Pilar, to me, has a very good chance of making this team. Vaughn Grissom did get the start. He was 3 for 3. How about that, Vaughn? 2 RBIs. Shoemake has come in for him. See if any of them went deep. Pilar went deep today. How about that? He's got 3 RBI on the spring. Grissom has 2 RBIs today, 3 in the spring. And Hilliard, Sam Hilliard, one of the guys that came over in the offseason, he's 1 for 4 and looks like it was a single, has struck out twice. I don't have one of the great things about a lot of these guys that the Braves did sign, both in the arms race and with the bats, they have a bunch of guys that are on this roster that have a lot, and I mean a lot, of moves left. Meaning you can send them down to the minors to start the season and you don't have to DFA them, which is huge. I thought Anthopoulos did a great job of building that. Because there's a reason why it's a 26-man roster, but there's the 40-man roster in Major League Baseball. Because it takes 40 to 45 guys at least to be able to compete for a division every year. That's bare minimum. There have been years, and I'm talking about even years when the Braves have played well, where you've needed 50, 60 guys. Atlanta is going to go into this year with the 4 guys in the front of the rotation cemented in, assuming no injuries, of Fried, Strider, Wright, and Morton. And then the number 5 guys up for grabs, with Soroka having his setback, more likely will start off with Elder or maybe Anderson. But with all that being said, there's a very good chance. So I just named 7 starting pitchers. You typically need 10 or 11 to get through a season, and that's in a good year. That's a year when you're not decimated by injuries. I think you got to be 15 deep nowadays, because the way these guys throw and the way that they get injured and with the money that's involved with their arms, and they're overly cautious, you've got to have at least a dozen to 15 guys in your organization that you feel good about taking the mound any given day. Now, some of that can be spelled with like a Jesse Chavez type opening type deal, if someone needs a day off or whatever, which I love those. In the middle of the season, when it's not a crucial game, it's not a divisional game, I love when I get to see like a Jesse Chavez or Colby Allard will probably get some opportunities to go out there and pitch a few innings, and you just kind of spell it out, especially if you're about to have a day off, and it re-energizes your entire pen. It gives all your starters one extra day off. In a perfect world, if I'm building the roster, I would love to have a 6-man rotation with 2, maybe 3 long guys, long relief guys that I can lean on, and then, of course, just a killer back of the bullpen. But that's usually impossible to piece together, because a 6-man rotation to me nowadays is why we're eventually going to see the roster expand one more arm. Because I think you're going to get more and more guys where they'll be pitching like once a week. Because when you invest all this money, you're talking about the difference between a guy going out and pitching 26 times in a year or 32. And though, yeah, that could make a big difference to a degree, it's safer to not do that. It's safer to go, you know what? We're going to let you pitch once a week. You'll be in your routine, and let's go. If you're just joining us, Patrick Kane, Chicago Blackhawks, traded to the New York Rangers. The Rangers are going for it. No, we don't talk a lot of hockey here, but I do love Stanley Cup playoffs, and I am looking forward to it. We will be talking a lot of Stanley Cup playoffs when it arrives. We just don't talk a lot of regular season NHL or regular season NBA for that matter, just because there's so many games and they're just kind of, to me, it kind of blends together. But we're getting towards the end of the season now, and now it's going to start getting fun. And we do have a couple of guys that are big time hockey guys that will be coming on. We do look forward to that. By the way, the Braves are still trailing. Score is 9-7. They're heading to the bottom of the 8th. If you missed it yesterday, the Braves got the first W of the spring training. And no one really cares about your record, but you do like to win close to half of them. No one wants to come out of spring training with like 5 wins and 23 losses. Goes, it's just practice. You're like, yeah, but you're not practicing very well. What the hell? I mean, look, I get that most of these guys that are getting clobbered on the mound are not going to be with the team, but it feels better when you come out of spring training and you either have a winning record or just below it. As long as we're not like 5-23, whatever, something like that, I feel okay. When you start, you never see a team who's absolutely just pitiful in spring training. Just turn that switch on and let's go. Braves are, our next broadcast here will be next Tuesday night, 6:05 Eastern, against the Red Sox. Looking forward to that and all the nuances that are now going on with the pitch clock. I think people are starting to get used to it already. I still say, I don't think I saw a tweet that I liked, but the tweet was saying essentially move it to 20 to 25 seconds. I don't think it needs to go to 25. To me, 20 is the sweet spot. Because when there's a runner on base, there feels like a normal flow. Or maybe a really weird number. Maybe 18 is it. I don't know. Because if you get 18 seconds and you got to be ready by 8, then what we're talking about is the batter has 10 seconds to get his head out of his rear and let's go, right? Someone sent me a pretty funny tweet. It was a side-by-side, and it was the guy I was talking about yesterday, Baez, the pitch for the Dodgers, and how long he took in between pitches and then would walk around the mound and play with the rosin bag, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, what the tweet was showing, it was Padres, maybe Dodgers. I don't really remember who the Padres were playing, but not really important to the story. They were showing one inning of spring training with the Padres at bat versus a Dodger game recently. It's been in the last few years. I don't know what year that they were showing it, but a Dodger game before the pitch clock with Baez on the mound. And that inning took the same amount of time as one at bat. And that was this nonsense that they had to get rid of. And I hate that we had to get to a point where we had to use a clock. But simple fact of the matter is, if the kids don't behave, you have to put things in place to make them behave. And that's essentially what Major League Baseball is doing. They're saying, look, we're losing viewership because of an absolute joke of what things like Pedro Baez would do. Even like the shimmy last year with Kenley Jansen. To me, his didn't slow the game down that much, but still, all that stuff feeds into it. College basketball, the tournaments got going. We will talk about that here in a second. And when we come back, speaking of college basketball, the guru, as he called himself, who now has a losing record since becoming a public superstar in college basketball. And remember the same guy that laughed about, 58%. He came on this show and he laughed about 58%. Oh, if I was 58%, I would quit gambling. If you were 58%, you might be able to retire because, my God, you're getting killed. He lost another one last night. Came out this morning and said he was done making picks. That got back to the show in New York, and we'll be back in a flash, and I got the clipping. You don't want to miss this. It is flat out hilarious. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. They're in the bottom of the 8th, 2 outs. Braves trail Minnesota 9-7 in spring trading. Keep it locked in here on The Key.
Hey, check it out. A snow cone machine.
A snow cone machine?
No, you're saying it wrong. It's a snow cone machine.
Wendy's only makes one kind of breakfast, your new favorite one. How do we do it? With fresh cracked eggs, oven-baked bacon, and flaky croissants. You know, the things your old breakfast wasn't doing. So toss that old news and its soggy eggs somewhere useful. And get to Wendy's. A sausage, egg, and Swiss croissant, bacon, egg, and Swiss croissant, and honey butter chicken biscuit. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Limited time only. Single item at regular price. Price and participation may vary at U.S. Wendy's.
Hey, sports fans. The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE, the The Key 99.1 FM and simulcasting on youtube.com/@BravesCountry.
Choose a yogurt that's right for you. With 2 grams of sugar per 5.3 ounce serving, Too Good Greek yogurt is too good to be true. So Delicious dairy-free yogurt and Silk yogurt alternatives are delicious plant-based swaps you can enjoy by the spoon or add to recipes. Oikos 000 yogurt and Light and Fit yogurt are tasty, non-fat yogurt options. So many flavors, varieties, and possibilities. Elevate any recipe and your everyday with yogurt.
You're listening to WQEE in Noonan, Georgia. Home of You're listening to Braves Country HD with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on Braves Country HD wherever you stream.
Boomer and Geo on The Fan and the CBS Sports Network.
It's Boomer and Geo on The Fan. Braves Country Radio. Everybody was asking for your pick all afternoon long. And you said, I have to go on Braves Country Radio first to give my pick, and then I will tweet it out. Okay, so what is
this? What is this Braves Radio? I mean,
they gave me an interview about gambling for 15, 20 minutes.
Armchair.
All right, welcome back. Rays starter Tyler Glasnow out 6 to 8 weeks already. Man, that guy can't stay healthy. Dodgers, Gavin Lux, it's like I've done that. Gavin Lux out for the season, torn ACL. Those are the big stories right now in baseball. All right, that clip that we just played, that was for those who've listened to the show for a while, pretty familiar with that. Our show went viral a little bit up in the Big Apple because Eddie, the jockey, came onto our show. Boomer and Geo got wind of it. And I think there was a little bit of, hey, you're our guy kind of thing. What are you doing on going on someone else's show? And all we did was interview him about picks. That was it. Because we talk a lot of sports gambling here, and that was the reason why we had him on. And we thought we'd found some kind of, unicorn or something, some random guy who was just unbelievable with picks. And he was picking one game a day and said he was on 11-game win streak. You went back and looked at his tweets and assuming that they were being tweeted in earnest. I don't know. I didn't go back and check the time of every game, but I'm going to assume no one went to that much trouble. And so he was on an 11-game heater. And even though he had some ups and downs earlier in the season, he'd done very well. And we were talking about percentages and whatnot. And I mentioned to him, hey, 58% is considered, I don't remember how we brought it up, but 58% in the gambling community long-term is considered elite. Anytime you see these guys who are selling their information on books, they're always trying to prove that they're somewhere near that mark. 53%, you can essentially make money depending on the juice. 55% is considered solid, very good. Anything below 53, obviously, you're losing money because of the juice. And then anything above 58 is just phenomenal. And I don't know how we've done it, but for 8 years in a row, we just finished our 8th season doing that. We have finished above 60%. So we're very proud of that mark, and we hold each other accountable. And look, we've had some streaks where, man, we can't buy one. We're like, holy cow, what's going on? And to me, it's more impressive because we have a collection, as I say, the deepest bench in sports talk. We have a collection of guys that are making these picks, and somehow we're piecing it together. So anyways, he leaves the show, and it's one point he's tweeting about a week or so later, and he's talking smack and saying, hey, Braves Country says 58% is good. If I was 58%, I would quit gambling. Since then, someone started paying attention to his picks. Since then, he is below 50%, well below. I think 5 or 6 units below 50%. So once again, last night, he lost again. And he came out and said that he was quitting, that he was done making picks. That started a firestorm on Boomer and Gio. And they wanted to know what's going on. And for those of y'all who don't know what I'm referring to, they started a GoFundMe page to help him get his teeth fixed. So this guy's acting like he's a high roller, but he's got huge dental problems. And anyone who's got that much money, you'd think that would be one of the first things that they would take care of, right? And he's living in squalor. There's been so much of this drama that we've all paid attention to. It's almost like a car wreck. You just can't stop not looking at it. And he got kicked out of his house recently, and he's living in someone's basement, the whole 9 yards. And what they were upset with is because the couple of people that helped him set up a GoFundMe page to help get his teeth fixed, because the listeners up there were donating, and I know that some of our listeners did as well, because I got the inboxes them telling me. But what they did was they set up this GoFundMe page, and I think the goal was $25K, and they're up around $16.5K. And I guess he's berating the two people that's been helping him. It's a married couple that actually drove to Baltimore. I don't know where these people live, but it's not Baltimore. They drove to Baltimore, took this guy to the dentist for his preliminary deal. And I guess now I'm not 100% sure, because I came home and was getting all kinds of blow-ups saying, hey, you got to watch the replay of Boomer Gio, da-da-da-da-da. So I raced in here, watched it, and I've got a clip to play. But essentially what happened was they went in and said they've had enough of it, because he was berating the two people that set up the GoFundMe account and giving their money, or he was wanting to get the money. I guess he was somewhat, I don't know. I mean, he's bullying him to some degree and raising Cain with them because he wanted access to the money that people had donated for the dentist, because he thought he was going to get it to go bet on basketball or whatever he wanted to do with it. In the midst of all this, he's out on Twitter last couple of days, and he's telling people to help him find some 2 ex-girlfriends that were like strippers or something in the 80s. All this nonsense. He's willing to pay for the information to know where they are. So all this. So I say all this to lead up to this clip, because it is funny. It's a little bit of a clip. It's like 3 or 4 minutes, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. Is Boomer and Gio reacting to this character and basically telling him, Boomer decides to tell him it's over.
I've been this annoyed, blowing this whole thing up.
Yep. And he's on the line if you'd like to tell him this to his face.
Hey, Eddie.
Yes, sir.
I am so ticked off at you right now. I don't even want to talk to you.
Why? I put a pick up.
Hey, what? Turn your music down. I'm so sick and tired of your crap over the last couple of weeks and the way that you're treating Danielle and Travis.
Eddie?
Well, I didn't treat them bad.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are, Eddie. You are. You don't send them DMs like you're sending them, and you don't ask them to do things for you. You just met them, and they're trying to go out of their way to get you new freaking teeth, and you're acting like an idiot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, that ain't good enough, Eddie. I'm sorry, it's not good enough.
Well, they cut the show off on me yesterday. I can't watch it. And I paid them a year's worth.
Hey, Eddie, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about all your idiotic problems. You know, you have actually had people that have gone out of their way to help you fix a problem that you said that you had. And then now you've manifested it into like 17 other problems. And you're putting a lot of people out. Do you understand that?
Yes.
So why do you think that Danielle and Travis owe you money or should be responsible for getting you out of your basement apartment? Why is that something that's in your head?
I don't know. I just think it is.
But why though? I mean, you're bugging them and torturing them over something that isn't their responsibility.
Well, they said the pharmacist was nice, and he never gave me my medicine for 51 hours, and I tried to pay him cash.
All right. Well, listen, Eddie, I'm telling them to hit the return button on the GoFundMe page. This is over.
Okay.
Because you've created too much of a firestorm, and some of your tweets are just deplorable.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So no more torturing Danielle and Travis. You know, you're probably going to be mad at them, and they're going to send a bunch of nasty things to them. Don't do that. All right. This is our decision, but you had this opportunity. We tried our best. People went out of their way in their free time to help you out, and all you've done is just you've been ungrateful. You've turned the lives of these two innocent listeners into hell that have tried to help you out. And it just has not gone the way that we wanted it to go. And we really feel like we gave you an opportunity to do the right thing, and you've done all the wrong things.
Okay.
All right. So that's it. Boomer, should we talk to Danielle about this first?
No. As far as I'm concerned, I just say I'm out of it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Right.
Well, I can't watch the show because those morons cut it off on me, and I paid them to put it on.
But you're not. Can you promise me one thing, Eddie? When that GoFundMe page disappears, do not contact Travis and Danielle any longer. Do not leave them.
Contact me either.
Leave them alone. Yeah, leave them alone. All right.
All right. I'll just X them off of the thing. I'll push block.
I've not seen him this annoyed since the Ranger playoff loss, and Gerard Gallant sounded like Elmer Fudd afterwards. These people that are questioning your relationships with strippers in the past that are offering money to you to produce them, is this a thing?
Yeah, they'll come forward. I'm pretty sure they will.
Yeah, but who is offering you money to dig up your old girlfriends?
I'm offering them money.
You're off. Why?
Because I have money.
Yeah, I know, but why are you offering them money? Who are you trying to prove something to?
The world.
The world? But who cares if someone doesn't believe you? So you got to produce these Dawn and Donna, and you got to produce these women to prove that to who? And you're going to waste your money on that?
Most of them are alive, I think. Maybe one or two might be dead.
I mean, but Eddie, you're living in squalor in a basement. You don't have any money for anything. You've got food stamps, and you're willing to pay to get your ex-girlfriends out of hiding to prove to people on Twitter that they exist?
Well, I have money from Betty.
Yeah,
I haven't cashed the check yet.
Okay, but why would you use it on that is the point.
Well, maybe I might get lucky.
Oh, boy. All right, Eddie. Any last words, Boomer? Anything? No? All right. And there he goes. And ladies and gentlemen, just like that, the saga of Eddie Brown, the Picks jockey, is over.
Enough already.
So that was it. I know it was a long clip, but it was too funny not to play. I even had to edit it down. It was much longer than that. I don't know if I missed some of the things leading up, but he's trying to get a hold of these strippers. Just the whole thing is just a nightmare. And somehow Boomer and Gio got involved in this guy's life. And of course, I've been watching it from afar because he was on the show and was talked so much smack. And the people that have come at him on Twitter, I mean, they've just been utterly ruthless. You know, saying the obvious things of you got too big for your britches and you screwed up a good thing. And he did. I mean, look, all these people stepped up to donate thousands and thousands of dollars to help him because he was making them money off of bets. Now, what I saw in the early going was that when it first was created, the GoFundMe, they made a lot of money fast. A lot of money was raised fast, excuse me. 14,000 within the first couple of days. And then when I would check in after that, it was trickling. The reason it was trickling, he wasn't hitting his bets. So I'm not necessarily of the belief that these were just a bunch of good people that, really wanted to help someone out. They quit donating when they found out that he wasn't as good at making college basketball bets as he had claimed to be. That's really what it came down to. They didn't care about sharing some of their winnings, but once it got to the point of he's not winning anymore, or he doesn't have a winning record, because, yeah, he was still hitting some, but they weren't donating the winnings. At that point, they were ticked off and they quit. And I saw so many people. So he's got all these followers, but you're going to see him, a lot of these followers kick him off now because, first of all, he just goes bananas on Twitter. He does things like he'll read a DM and then he will make comments towards that DM, but he'll do it publicly on Twitter. So you don't know what he's talking about. And they're half the things in capital letters. They're all run-on sentences. We're talking about this guy cannot put two sentences together. He doesn't understand apostrophes. He doesn't understand periods. Nothing. And I know most of us are not perfect when it comes to that, especially when it comes to social media tests. But you could usually figure out what someone's trying to say when they say it. When you read his text, they are just the most bananas things ever. I would share some of them, but some of them, I just don't think they make any sense. And also, he can get kind of vulgar too. So that's the other thing. And he's he's living in the past. He was a mildly successful jockey in the 1980s, and I guess at that point was living with strippers or whatever he's trying to brag about. I mean, that's a weird brag, but. Especially considering the fact that I figure the places that he probably found these, they're probably not the high end. Best case scenario, I think he was like it was like the breakfast bar strippers, right? You know, we've all been there, right? We go, oh my word, what did I stumble into? And he's trying to locate them 40 years, and he's talked about them having drug problems. What is a 40-year-old or at this point 60 to 70-something-year-old stripper with drug problems going to look like? He's talking about getting lucky? I'm going to tell you right now, that is the epitome of unlucky. That ain't lucky, buddy. That is unlucky. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Joey's going to join us. I had him tune in so he could react to this because he's been following this saga to a degree as well. So we'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country HD. I'm going to try to get it together during the break. Keep it locked in here on the Key and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. The Tuesday night TNT doubleheader starts off with Lakers at Grizzlies. That game can be seen at 7:30 Eastern. The second part of the double dip, Timberwolves are at the Clippers. Other games of interest in the association, Hawks at home versus the Wizards. That's at 7:30 Eastern in State Farm Arena. Bucks are at the Nets. Bulls at Raptors. The Kings travel to the Thunder at 8 Eastern, while the Trailblazers are in Golden State at 10. Men's college basketball tonight, 6:30 Eastern on FS1. Marquette travels to Butler, while at 7:30 Eastern, you have Clemson traveling to Virginia on the ACC network. Iowa's at Indiana on the Deuce. And the Patriot League tournament begins. Bucknell at American University on the Plus. Holy Cross at Loyola, Maryland. Both games tip at 7. The Horizon League, IUPUI at Robert Morris. Green Bay at Wright State, while Purdue Fort Wayne travels to Detroit Mercy. On ESPN tonight, NC State is at Duke. Georgia Tech travels to Syracuse. That can be seen on the Plus. It's not quite the world's greatest outdoor cocktail party, but the Florida Gators and Georgia Bulldogs will hunker down in Athens, 7 o'clock Eastern on the SEC Network. Great A-10 matchup on CBS Sports Network, 7 Eastern. St. Louis travels to VCU. While at 8:30, Villanova's at Seton Hall on FS1. 9 Eastern, ESPN Texas Tech at the Kansas Jayhawk. Rock Chalk right now sitting on the 1 seed line. And on the deuce at 9, the Tennessee Volunteers host the Arkansas Razorbacks. CBS Sports Network has San Diego State at Boise State, battle of the top 2 teams in the Mountain West. And a couple of late tilts, Fresno State at New Mexico on FS1, 10:30 Eastern. 11 Eastern, CBS Sports Network, Colorado State at San Jose State. Major League Baseball spring training today. Matchups of interest. Braves are at the Twins in Fort Myers. Yankees at the Rays. Cards at Nats. And Cubs at Brewers. With the Blue Jays traveling to the Phillies, Astros and Mets squaring off in Port St. Lucie. And the Padres battle the Giants in Scottsdale. The Atlanta Falcons have released quarterback Marcus Mariota. Getting Mariota off the team will save Atlanta $12 million against the cap this season. Carolina Panthers will meet with free agent quarterback Derek Carr this week at the NFL Scouting Combine. Carr, who is expected to arrive Tuesday in Indy, also has visited the Saints and Jets this offseason. The 4-time Pro Bowler will meet again in Indy with representatives of both the Saints and Jets. Los Angeles Dodgers shortstop infielder Gavin Lux will miss the 2023 season with a torn ACL in his right knee. Veteran Miguel Rojas is expected to handle the bulk of the playing time at shortstop, but now we'll have to pivot with Chris Taylor as the most likely number 2 on the days off. Lux was carted off the field Monday after suffering the injury while running the bases from second to third during LA's spring training game against the San Diego Padres. And Chicago Cubs right fielder Seiya Suzuki, who is dealing with the left oblique tightness, withdrew from Japan's roster for the World Baseball Classic. World Baseball Classic opens a week from tomorrow, March 8th, and ends on March 21st. Japan opens March 9th in the Tokyo Dome against China. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country. Tuesday, March 7th, 6:05 Eastern, first pitch. Braves Country is bringing you Atlanta Braves, Boston Red Sox, pitch by pitch, inning by inning, from Northport, Florida at Cool Today Park. Red Sox versus Braves broadcast will begin 6 Eastern, first pitch delivered by 6:05. Catch all the action right here. Make sure to like and subscribe. Braves Country HD, youtube.com/@Braves Country for Atlanta Braves baseball all year long.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Oh, let's not go to the World Series without Stillwell's toys.
Can you send my baseball?
Sure. There.
Wow. Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan. Wow.
That's good advice.
Let's go! Hour number 2, baby!
Let's go!
And Joey's here! So I take it that you heard that clip from this morning.
Oh, absolutely. I expect nothing less. It lived up to everything I wanted.
Dude, I was furiously trying to edit that before the show. I was like trying to beat the clock.
That was great to even get it in. I appreciate it.
When I rushed home from work in the afternoon, I allot myself just enough time to let the girls out, our dogs, to come in here and do the sports flash. And of course, you got to gather information to do the sports flash. I don't like I know some shows will do that kind of stuff like the day before. I'm like, no, because something always breaks, and like the Mariota thing, right? And so I'm coming and I'm getting like all kinds of alerts that basically the jockey's gone off his meds. And I'm like, what is going on? So I had to find it on the show today on their New York show. I sat there and watched it. I mean, I was just mesmerized by it. The only thing I'll say is this. It's a little disingenuous that all those people made all that money off of him. They were donating to help him get his teeth, right? I feel like cooler heads could have prevailed and they still could have they could have got something fixed for him, right? As opposed to just shutting the whole thing down, returning everybody's money. Because what about all these people that made the money? And now they're coming at him like a pack of wolves on Twitter, right? And so I think one of the things I left out was after he said that he wasn't going to make a pick and they started berating him on the show, I think he thought that's why he was getting yelled at, was because he wasn't making a pick. So when he first comes on the show this morning, if you notice, the first thing he says is, he says, I made a pick. Because like he thinks that's how this is going to work. I'm making picks. You're losing. You're terrible at making these picks. Why do I care if you make these picks? I told y'all last night in the text between you and Tones, I said, if I would have known that you picked the same pick as Eddie the jockey, I would have not, because I ended up backing Tones' pick. Now, it wouldn't matter because I did a wild parlay. And I backed Tones' pick from yesterday, and it happened to be the jockey's pick. I was like, I try to steer clear of the jockey's pick. I don't necessarily pick against him, but I haven't taken his advice in weeks because he's terrible. I have had days where I've had very profitable days, and the one mark on my record has been his pick. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, why in the world? Why do I carry? Like, why? Like, what is going on? So, anyways,
his tweets, though, I mean, for those of you who haven't been on his Twitter, it's just.
And he's doomed the local team here because he picked Kennesaw State tonight, and I'm ticked off about that because I already made my Kennesaw State bet early this morning. I'm like, my God, it's just a wrap. I haven't double checked. My number is different from his number, and then maybe I will cover and he won't. It's like,
or get your money back.
but the reason why he even made that pick is because he's been jumping on Kennesaw State a lot this year. I noticed it a lot because like the insane tweets that he tags us into.
Oh my goodness!
I never even talk about this on the show, y'all, but people will put things up on Twitter and it'll say stuff like, who was your favorite baseball player growing up? And this happened recently. This is exactly what it was. Who was your favorite baseball player growing up? I didn't go all the way back to Dale Murphy. I just I found a GIF of Chipper Jones and I just put it in the comments. Well, he follows our tweets and he gets diarrhea of the mouth and just starts flabbergasting about how the Braves suck and this and that, the Mets are going to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. He's not even a Mets fan, but he's been writing Boomer and Gio's lap. He's been giving them a lap dance because they're trying to because he wants that 16,000, right?
Exactly.
And he's up there giving them a lap dance. Oh, Mets this, Mets that. Like he hasn't. Supposedly he's an Oriole fan. He hasn't made one comment about the Orioles, but he's always back in the Mets because he's trying to suck up to all the people in New York. That's what it is. Yeah. And of course, some of it I ignore, but some of it I just have fun with and go at him. He'll say things like, and he'll just randomly tag me into one. It was during it was our show tweet, giving people the link for the show, and the next day or the day after, he randomly puts in, I just put the Mets to win the division on the money line, blah, blah, blah. And all I just put back was like, sweet, the Braves are going to win the 6th division in a row. Now it's a lock because this guy's terrible at all his picks. There's no way he knows baseball.
I love it. You know, you're getting to someone like when you or I will give a GIF and he'll just all caps us for a paragraph of, oh, this is the worst. It's like, hey, buddy, we're just easy now, Tiger. But it's a wild run.
Yeah, what's funny is that not only will he do all caps a lot of times because I don't think he knows what he's doing on the phone. I'm sure he's texting from a phone. But then other times, like it's just random capitals and then lower cases and then back to capitals. It's like, what are you doing? I don't even know who he's referring to here. I'm thinking this might have something to do with Boomer. Yeah, this must have something to do with Boomer. So I don't even know what he's talking about. When did Boomer get humiliated by Tampa? But unless he's talking about, I know Boomer's a Rangers fan. They might be talking about that with the Lightning. But in Capitals, when was this? This was today, 1:15. So several hours after he was on the show.
Live action.
And he doesn't tag him in, but people kind of deciphered who he's talking about. He's talking about Boomer, and in Capitals he goes, at least, and then lowercase, I was, back to capital, never humiliated by anything from Tampa. And then of course people, now he's got several thousand followers, so people are going, what are you doing? And of course the first guy chimes in and goes, why didn't you say this to Boomer when you had him on the phone today? Others, what does this even mean? And then the famous gif of Homer Simpson's dad, old man yells at the cloud. Anyway, funny stuff.
It's been a roller coaster of a ride, I can tell you that.
I guess that's the end of it. I mean, unless something else crazier happens, that's probably the last time we bring him up much here on the show. But it's been a crazy. They said it was been about 6 weeks. Man, it feels longer than that he's just been.
Sometimes you need one of those stories,
He tweets like 327 times in a given day, and very few of it is about basketball. It'll just be random, just nonsense about strippers in the 80s. And the other funny thing was, I think that's the favorite part of the clip that I got was I saw him tweet about it, so I already knew what he was referring to. Wherever he's staying at, he had paid ahead of time to have cable at his house or whatever. And whoever he is renting from decided to downgrade their package. And so they only now get like ESPN and ESPN Plus. They no longer get the CBS Sports Radio station or CBS Sports Network station on cable. And that's where Boomer and Gio come on. So when you hear him say, they canceled my subscription and I paid them for it and blah, 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 and you hear Boomer go, I'm so sick of hearing about your crap that doesn't. Let's go.
He got his couple moments of fame, but he gone.
Yeah. He's going to have to get white hot in March Madness to get for people to even. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to focus back on his betting, but I think the thing is just it's a car wreck. I can't help it, man. Like you can't not watch this. You're like, dude, he's doing something stupid again. Let's watch.
It's a slow bleed.
We got to have him back on. Bring him back.
Because you know what he's gonna do. He's just gonna come now. He's gonna come on here and he's gonna talk his bets, but he's just gonna go in on the Mets, and we're just gonna have to destroy him with that. We're just gonna have to destroy him with Braves.
What you do is you get him back on, and then you lull him in, and then you go, let's talk about 50% and how you see the last 50% win rate. Let's go back over your bets over the last several weeks. By the way, real quick, see, is that the 9th inning? Houston leads the Mets 8-4. The Braves did lose the spring training game to Minnesota 10-7. We've got All right, so sorry that got me sidetracked. I know we got a whole thing we're supposed to talk about here today, man, but that got me sidetracked.
That was too good.
It was too funny.
If you got it in, we had to talk about it.
March Madness. Let's put a pin in that for a second, because you haven't been on since spring training has started.
Yep, that is correct.
And I know that. First of all, congratulations on your big bet that
your team got me there.
Yeah. Joey took Florida State on the money line to beat Miami. Now, when did you take that bet? Before the game started?
Yeah, before the game started.
Okay. I didn't know if it was a live bet type thing, because I tried to get them when I saw them coming back, and I was just gonna, for fun, I was like, "You throw $5 on this. Miami seems like they're choking again. Let's throw $5 on it." And they'd shut it down, man. They would not let any bets. I'm like, "Oh, someone went all in or something, man." Someone took that jockey money and threw it all in. Let's go. We're shutting down that GoFundMe. I'm getting my money back. Let's go.
Yeah, I was in tough streaks, but the last week has been pretty nice, so let's hope it continues. Florida State really helped that out. But I was getting trashed on for that bet when I made. They're like, "You're betting a team that think they were 9-20 or 8-20.
Yeah,
what do you do? What do you do?" And I'm just like, you know what? I got one of my buddies here I do the show with. How you all know, like Florida State. I need something good here. Let's get a little magic going, and boom, it happened.
That's incredible. The spring training, the clock. I think everyone's been so fixated on the clock that the shift in the bags hasn't even come up. And maybe that's why they snuck the bags in during the clock, because they knew everyone would focus on the clock, right?
Correct.
What are your quick, just knee-jerk reactions to what you saw over the past several days?
Well, I'll tell you what I first saw, and that is Suzuki left the game for the Cubs, and that has nothing to do with the rules, but that was not a good start to spring training. He leaves the first game, and boom, here we go. So I don't know how long that injury.
Injury?
Yeah, he left the first game with an oblique. I don't think it's some. He'll miss.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about something today. I saw where he's gonna miss the Classic because of it,
which I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
but I know that you're coming to the rules, and with the clock and stuff. We talked about this last week. Look, there's gonna be a lot of problems at first, and to me, they want to make the game faster, but when you make something faster, as we talked about, you can make something more unsafe. So I think there's going to be a lot of banter by these pitchers and coaches to begin this thing. And I'm interested to see if they have to ever change anything, or it's just always going to be set in stone.
I almost want to take the other side, play devil's advocate or whatever. Someone a lot smarter than me will come up with a much better term. But what about maybe with them pitching so quickly and they're not having time to gear up, right? Like I think of Aroldis Chapman and some of these other guys where they would dig their spikes in the dirt and let it fly, right? They're having to be quicker. Could that possibly keep them less likely to get injured because it's just a fluid movement, which is really how it originally was supposed to be when baseball first started 150 years ago, right? And even when it evolved a little bit, 25 to 50 years into the game, you were still talking about a guy was catching it and he was slinging it. One of the most difficult pitchers, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. If you ever see the video of Walter Johnson, man, he would just rock and throw. And it hasn't been until the last 25, 30 years that you've seen these guys really, because it's because they're being taught this, right? But they're leaning in and they're putting all their weight in and they're letting it fire. And is that putting too much on their elbows? I'm just taking.
The more you keep your body warm and you keep ready, you are keeping a little bit more loose. So to me, it is all person to person, but to look at the other side of things, I don't think you'd bring up a bad point at all.
Correct.
Thank you. My guy. I like that. There we go. You are correct. Never going to change.
All All right, so the bases, I don't think anyone's paid attention to the bases yet. I don't think that's going to get until we get in deep into the playoffs or I'm sorry, deep into the season, and you start seeing someone with like 38 stolen bases in the first 50 games. And everyone's going, whoa, 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 whoa. I think we made a big mistake. And the shift, what I immediately saw the first game that we did the broadcast Saturday for, I guess it was the first inning. Yeah, first inning. Bottom of the first. And Matt Olson, first at bat, rips one between first and second into right field for a single. It was a worm burner. Last year, the third baseman would have been playing shallow right, and Olson would have been out by 1.5 miles. So I feel like that already I've seen the shift, the banning of the shift, be a good thing, because it may sound stupid because it's just one little single in spring training, but what it's going to lead to is more offense. And you take a guy like Matt Olson out of it. What about when a guy like Michael Harris gets on because of a worm burner? And then you've got the expanded bases, and he can go at any time. That to me makes it more exciting. I still don't like the base thing. Everything else I can live with. I don't like them changing the dimensions of the game that has been the same for 150 plus years. That's the only thing I can say about it.
I mean, yeah, anything to me, I'm a big fan of, creating more people on base, more runs. So I like that start to it for at least now.
To me, it is the equivalent of making the end zone 12 yards instead of 10, making the free throw stripe 13, 14 feet instead of the traditional 15. That's what I don't like. I don't like changing the dimensions of a game that has always been perfect the way it was. The pitch clock, I'm okay with. I still think it's a little quick. Give me 20, not the 15. All right, we're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, college basketball, and there are a lot of tournaments kicking. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. We'll get you updated on some baseball that is live right now.
Been all over the world, beat them all. And it's hard to believe, isn't it? Really hard to believe that so much man could be wrapped in such a good-looking package.
Hey, sports fans, the Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE, The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Hey, y'all, I'm Mac McGee, and you don't want to miss as we covered the entire NFL on Armchair Quarterback Radio.
12-0 Chicago Bears. If they could go all the way, they would be 19-0. The last undefeated team in pro football history, these Miami Dolphins. 72, 14-0 regular season. After the Super Bowl, they were 17-0 for a third down and 6. Cooper, Moore, and Clayton. Out of the way. Into the arms of Clayton. Oh, and are things going right for the Dolphins tonight? 42-yard touchdown, batted into the air at the line of scrimmage. This is vintage Monday Night Football. Final seconds ticking off. Bears will not go undefeated. But what a victory for the Dolphins. And Dan Marino reigns supreme once again.
Welcome back to Braves Country. Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m., drive time on WQEE. Welcome back. As NFL Combine started today, could you be more bored by that?
Even for a guy who needs a QB, I just want to get to free agency in the draft.
I have no desire to watch the annual lingerie contest in Indianapolis where they all run around in their underwear. That tells me nothing, absolutely nothing. There's always one freak that comes out of there and he'll get overdrafted, and then Trey Lance, and then they'll wonder like, why was he a bust, Trey Lance? And then they'll say, well, maybe we should have paid attention to his actual college football career, Trey Lance. And that there's going to be another one, Anthony Richardson, because it's coming. Someone's going to get drafted in the top 10 that shouldn't be Anthony Richardson, and he's going to get drafted high, and everyone's going to go, this is the guy. And then Anthony Richardson, this one guy that will rename nameless Anthony Richardson will end up being a total bust.
Yeah, when I see him to the Colts, I have to cringe a little bit sometimes. I love when I see the Stroud or we trade up and get Bryce Young. But when I see Levis, I'm unsure on him. But when I see Richardson, I cringe.
I mean, not that high. It's not saying that. Why draft a guy that high who didn't have a very good college career? I could say the same thing about Will Levis, too.
Exactly, you can.
There's only 2 quarterbacks in my mind that should be drafted in the top 10 in this draft. And I'm not positive about Bryce Young. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because he's been a very good passer. But his size concerns me on the NFL level. Stroud is the only guy that I say that is a slam dunk. I'm going to give him a try. And I think it's one of the reasons why the Bears are saying, you know what, we're going to take our chances with Justin Fields. It doesn't look like that they're going to trade him.
No, it does not, and Chicago fans definitely are liking trying to maximize on the first pick here locally. But getting back to your point on Stroud real quick, I mean, I know it's a short sample size, it's only one game, but if you just watch the tape against Georgia and you look at his measurables, to me that is the most complete player right there in terms of height, athleticism, arm strength, and then he did it against Georgia. I mean, what else do you want from a guy?
It's not like that was some random game that CJ Stroud has had a very good college career. So for people to question him, that to me was just the exclamation point.
The cherry on top.
Right. And look, let's be honest, they look like the better team, and they look like the better team that day because of Stroud. Now they blew it at the end. It is what it is, but they look like the better team. And it was only because of Stroud. Because the last time we had seen them play, they had gotten pummeled. Their defense had gotten out-muscled by Michigan. So, with the combine this week, the only thing I'm excited about that is for it to be over. Because once it's over, we're going to be just days away from free agency, and then that's when things happen, right?
Right, and look at also you have a guy like Derek Carr who's going down to Indy to take multiple visits. So you're getting a lot of this pre-homework talk out of the way. Next week, we should really start to see, I'm not saying we'll see all the trades and it's free agency hasn't just started at the beginning of March, but you're going to start to see some things play out after this week concludes.
Patrick Kane traded to the New York Rangers today.
Sad news for us fans.
What's that?
Sad news for us here in Chicago. I mean, we knew it's not like we are doing any good, but we wanted kind of Patrick Kane to be a lifer. We're happy to send him off to a good team, but it's crazy. His era started in 2008. I can remember it like it was last week, and to see it finally come to an end, 3 championships. Thank you for everything you did, Patrick Kane.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by it just because my fandom is very, very shallow when it comes to the NHL until we get to the playoffs, and then I start paying attention. And I didn't expect that name to be, especially the Rangers. I was like, what? Because it's the Blackhawks and the Rangers. Those are, what do they call them? The original 6, right?
Yeah, it's a little not that they're rivals today, but it's a salt in the wound.
It feels like a right. To me, it just feels like, because they're the original 6, they're one of them, right?
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like they traded him to St. Louis, but it feels weird. It feels dirty. I would have liked to have seen him go elsewhere. I don't know where. I don't have a dog in the hunt per se, but it would have felt better if he would have went to, I don't know, out into Colorado or something. I don't know. The college basketball tournaments are in full force. Last night, give folks a heads up on what happened last night. So Queens University beat Florida Gulf Coast. Cha-ching! And Bellarmine beat North Florida. Wah, wah, wah. That started off the A-Sun. And so what's funny is that I was told by a different broadcast that they were playing on their home court in the A-Sun to start this tournament. I just assumed that was correct. I didn't go back and double check it. The game starts, and I see it's being played in Kennesaw, Georgia. Florida Gulf Coast, Queens University. I'm like, wait, what? And the same conference game going on at the same time, Lynchburg, Virginia, North Florida, and Bellarmine. So I guess they start off with who they assume. What I'm taking from that is because Kennesaw is got the first round bye, they were waiting on the winner of this and as well as I can't remember who Bellarmine's playing, but both of them, I know that Queens is playing Kennesaw State tonight. So I guess they get the home court so they don't have to travel. So you're not the next day going, which way are we going? Are we going to, right? Or I guess it's really preventing Queens from having to go down to Georgia. They're already there. Well, that being said, there was nobody in these stands because no one in Kennesaw, Georgia cared anything about Florida Gulf Coast or Queens University. And the same thing in the North Florida Bellarmine game. I think it was the Liberty's home court is who Bellarmine was playing at. But it was funny when it first started, all the stands and the seats, both teams had the seats painted in different colors. So from a distance, you couldn't quite tell until you really focused in on the fact, dude, there's no one in the stands. There's literally nobody in the stands. I thought it was very colorful, sweatshirts people had on. I was like, wait a minute, there's no one in the stands. There's like one random guy, and I'm sure he's a stat guy that they showed at the Queens game, and same thing at the Bellarmine game.
That one game was epic.
What's that?
That one game was epic that we were talking about in the group chat. I couldn't believe the buzzer beater. I forget who it was even between, but it had the feel of March.
The North Florida game.
That was it. Okay, yeah, that had the feel of March.
And that was the one that set the jockey off the rails. He took North Florida as well.
That was the beginning of the end.
Jockey got bucked last night by Bellarmine. Tonight, you got the Sun Belt beginning. So Coastal Carolina and Arkansas State. There are a lot of games tonight, by the way. I don't know why, but I thought I'd seen that there were going to be day games, but I guess there aren't today. I believe there's some start. It's either tomorrow or Thursday that we start seeing day games, and it'll be like that for the next several weeks, right? What was the other one? Oh, the Patriot League is beginning. The Horizon League is beginning. The A-Sun quarterfinal, which was what we just talked about. And I think there's one more. Having to scroll through this to try to find it. But anyways, conference Sun Belt. I don't think I said Sun Belt yet. And you have some pretty big games. The SEC, Arkansas at Tennessee, 9:00 Eastern on ESPN2. That should be a good one.
I like that game a lot. I also like Iowa versus Indiana in the Big Ten. That's a big one for, Iowa fighting on the edge of the bubble right now. It could use a big victory tonight against Indiana.
I don't think that's happening.
I don't either, but they need it.
Tennessee needs a win in the worst way after losing to the last, what's it been? I just had it in front of me. Sorry. They lost. So before that blowout win against South Carolina, which South Carolina is no team this year. Before that, they'd lost 2 in a row. So they really need another win. They play tonight in Knoxville, and then they travel to Auburn on, I guess that's Saturday, 2:00 ESPN, and then we go to the conference tournament.
Man, what a wild ride they had of beating Alabama, then you lose to Kentucky and A&M, and then blow out South Carolina. Very up and down the past couple of weeks here. Tennessee has been.
Auburn as well. I watched quite a bit of that Auburn-Kentucky game on Saturday. Man, I kept waiting. So at the beginning, it was a fairly close game. I kept waiting for it to get a little closer, and they just put the freaking beat down on Auburn in the second half. Beat them by like 30. It was absurd. What was funny is that before the game had started, I was going to put a little money on Auburn. I got a little skittish, and when I turned the game on closer to the first half, I was like, man, maybe I should have went with Auburn. I'll see what the line is at the half. And then bumped. They were down by like 10 at that. I was like, never mind, I'm staying away from this, man. That saved me right there. But Auburn, they've got Alabama tomorrow night. And, since this controversy with Brandon Miller and company, they haven't lost. But they have had some close wins. Some very close wins. They won by 2 against South Carolina, who's terrible. They won by a field goal against Arkansas in Bama, a game where Arkansas really had an opportunity to win that thing. This is since the controversy, and I'm wondering if this is eventually going to wear on them. I'm not picking Alabama to win the title because of this controversy.
Oh, I can tell you right now, I feel pretty strong after the weekend where, okay, I get it. This is an open case and everything, and he's a witness and all that. But when you do the pat down before the game as you come out for your starting 5 and another player pats you down and like leading to the thing, searching for a gun, that is just, how are you going to make fun of a scene where a person has been lost, no matter if it is your fault or not in the court system at the end of the day? I'm going to be rooting heavily against Alabama the rest of this tournament. And to me, it is a very sad situation. I think
against him too, because and just everyone involved in this.
Yes. To me, he shouldn't be playing right now.
Pick, wherever he goes, I'm pulling against him. Because he's obviously, he's looking at, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Whatever, man, you're involved. And the point is what you just said. Show some damn class. That's all I can say.
It's like, that's the very least you can do.
They just lost their daughter. A mother. She was just gunned down, and it sounded like it was a pretty creepy encounter.
Yeah, and on top of that, like you said, it's more than even just, the other players, Coach Oates, I just think there's a lot of bad. I know it's a good team. He's number 1, but let's face it. If this was a bad team or a bad player, I bet you he wouldn't even be on the court.
Coach Oates, to me, and I had not paid much attention to him until this happened. When I see him in interviews, he's slimy.
You get a greaseball feel.
Yeah. He's one of these dudes that sold his soul. He sold his soul, and he lives in Alabama. How'd that work out for you? If you're gonna sell your soul, aim a little higher. I just
raise the bar.
I can't believe that they haven't done anything to him. The SEC, the NCAA, they all sit there, and if the shoe was on the other foot in a lot of other instances, these kids are at least being told to step away for a minute. Right? At least a week. At least we're going to let the dust settle. We're going to see how this plays out.
And then on top of that, you don't even let it settle. You make a joke about it pretty much. In
the interview by Oates prior to, what game was that? Was that the Saturday game, or was it maybe it was the post game of the Thursday. Anyways, it was so nonchalant, and then he would catch himself and say, and I know someone's lost their life, and he was basically saying, this is, we need to move on. What it was is that he was bragging about they had just won. It was I know what it was. It was post game South Carolina, who's terrible, and he was bragging about the fact how they kept their composure and kept focus on the task at hand because they've got a chance to do big things this year. I'm like, what? This is what you want to talk about after you let this kid who's involved somehow on the court? It's at least enough to say, hey, he shouldn't be on the court tonight, right? It's at least that.
At least. Come on.
And you skimped by 2 points. I think it went to overtime against South Carolina, who is, by the way, for folks who aren't paying attention to college basketball, they are awful this year. I mean, Florida State and South Carolina should be playing in a loser bowl. Final showdown. Bum, 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 bum. Tonight on Peacock, Florida State versus South Carolina. The we can't wait till college football season basketball game.
It still might get more views than some of these things on TV lately.
Let's take our last break. When we come back, we're going to give you our locks and look at some of the matchups tonight. Some of these spreads are really, really crazy. Be back in a flash here on Braves Country.
That's a joke, boy. You missed it. Went right past you. You gotta keep on your toes.
You get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. So much, I'm going to have to speed things up. You can get the Farmers Signal app, and that could get you up to 15% off your auto policy. That's just for using the app and driving like the normal speed limit, hearing, full stop, making lane change, signaling human being you are. Get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. Start with a quote by calling 1-800-FARMERS.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Hey, Braves fans. Thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves, bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Dread running to the post office? Stamps.com brings post office and UPS services right to your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and get up to 40% off USPS and up to 62% off UPS rates. Nearly 1 million small businesses use Stamps.com to save time and money. It's a no-brainer. So skip the post office and visit Stamps.com.
Sit sharp. I'm not playing your stupid game.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
You're listening to WQEE in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country. Weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m. Welcome back. College basketball night. This is definitely a ball night, that's for sure. Got some of the spreads up on the screen. This first quadrant, anything jump out at you?
Looking at those games there, I pay attention to. I kind of like. That's a lot of points Marquette's given up there. I know Butler's not very good, but I kind of like Butler in the points on that screen.
I like Wake Forest to really put a beat down on Boston College. They're 8-point favorites. I'll tell you what, one of my favorite things to do with college basketball, if you find a game that's 6 to 8 points, is you put them both on the money line. So like a Marquette and a Wake Forest. I grabbed something similar to that tonight. let me double check my info. I think it was Marquette. Yeah, here it is. Marquette, Wake Forest, and Indiana put them all together on the money line. So no covering the spread. 3 teams at home, 3 good basketball teams, all to win on the money line, and the payout is 130 plus 130.
I like it.
It's not a great payout when you're talking about a 3-way parlay, but they're also heavy favorites. So you got to take the good with the bad.
Exactly.
How about my favorite preseason bet that I've made so far in the world of Major League Baseball? Ready for this one?
Let's hear it.
Where is it at? Here we go. What is the number? The Baltimore Orioles, I found them at the win total of over 77.5. And I think that's incredibly low. I think they're going to get 85 wins plus. I think this is a team that's good, it's young, and they're going to make strides this year. And I thought they were a pretty good team last year. 77.5 to me seems low.
And usually, obviously in that division, everything usually seems very tough, but I think I see some flaws in some of these AL East teams more than usual. I mean, it's especially Boston, but even a little bit in Tampa Bay, a little bit. I don't think it's going to be, having a lot of really, really good teams there. So I kind of like that over.
I would never pick them to win the division.
No, me either.
I think they're going to be in the hunt for the AL wild card. And if they can get off to a good start, they can make it interesting in the division for a while. But 77.5 wins. So if they don't make it, you're talking about being 10 games under 500, essentially. I just thought that was really low. I also took a flyer on the Twins to win the AL Central, but that's because they are plus 225. I wouldn't have done that with even money. I just put a little bit on that, but if it's going to pay out 2.5, they've got as good a chance of winning that division as the terrible White Sox and the overachieving Cleveland Indians.
It's anyone's game. I'm going White Sox, but it's anyone's game.
Yeah, but you live in Chicago. Of course, you think the White Sox are.
But I am a Cubs fan, to be fair. It's
Well, by the way, that's an interesting thing. I need to get y'all on at the same time. So I know how you and Tones are still okay with the White Sox being Cubs fan. Brian, who's on the show on Wednesdays, he's a White Sox fan. He hates the Cubs. He can't.
We randomly tuned in. It's funny because sometimes we'll just be doing it on the weekends. We randomly tuned into that show and heard that, and I would like to talk to him a little bit about that, because me more so, but my brother does definitely hate the White Sox, but me, I don't have a problem with them as much.
Oh, Tones does hate the White Sox?
Tones does hate them, but I don't have.
For some reason, I thought y'all were. I knew you were okay with them. I thought he was too.
I'm okay with it for a multitude of reasons, but I'd love to be on one time with Mr. Brian.
We're going to set that up.
Absolutely.
Get the 3 y'all in there arguing. I'll just step away.
Yeah, it will be fun.
Okay, so the next quadrant we go down here. Let me see if there's any good games on this. Man, I'll tell you what, Virginia, and I know they fell to number 13. They were number 6 last week. They might be the most overrated team that's going to end up on like the 3-4 line. Virginia, once again, has that boring, slow-paced offense, and they don't have the three-point shooters to go deep like they did when they won the title. This feels more like the team, the 1 seed that they got knocked out in the first round. I steer clear of that. I didn't want any part of Virginia giving up 6.5, even though Clemson's a fraud. I didn't want any part of it.
I don't like it.
Now I'm going to go ahead and give you my pick. My lock.
Ooh.
Can you guess what game I'm going to? The ones that are being shown right there. So you've got Bucknell versus American, Clemson, Virginia, Eastern Michigan, Bowling Green, Florida, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Holy Cross, Loyola. Which game am I going to?
I think you're going Georgia spread.
Going what?
With the Georgia spread. +2.
Ding, ding, ding. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs getting to This Florida team has been hit with injuries in the front court, and I don't think they're going to be able to get the rebounds. I think Georgia's going to be able. I think this line actually is flipped. I don't think Florida should be the favorite. They're on the road. Georgia gets the W at home, and I took them.
I thought someone was hurt for Georgia.
I'm going to take +2 because there's nothing wrong with having a couple of points in your pocket for what we do here on the show. But personally, I grabbed them on the money line to win.
Yeah, I thought someone was hurt for Georgia because that seemed messed up, that spread to me.
Georgia Tech, by the way, is on the road getting 9 versus Syracuse. I do not like Georgia Tech today. Syracuse is due for a W, and they're in the Carrier Dome and that goofy defense that they put on you. I just don't think Georgia Tech has the shooting to keep up with them. Here's your game. This is the one that I assumed you were going to take, so that's why I left it alone. Iowa, Indiana. It's a 6-point spread now.
I was on that game is interesting to me. Now I don't mind Iowa in the. I wouldn't take them straight up. I don't think they'll win this game, but maybe they could cover potentially. But actually, my lock is going somewhere else in the Big Ten, and that is Michigan State at Nebraska. Michigan State, I want to believe, is -4, 4.5, depending on the -4. I have them at right here. But Michigan State's at Nebraska. Michigan State had a terrible, tragic loss after Mr. Iowa coach Fran looked at the referee. They went on like a 14-0 run and won in overtime. It was something wild on Saturday afternoon. But I think Michigan State's going to come out today and blow the doors off of Nebraska.
Huh. That is interesting. It's one of the guys I follow. One of his big bets today is Nebraska +4.5.
I have a Nebraska fan that watches the show religiously as well, but I just think Michigan State's going to get that rebound game. They need it.
I don't think Michigan State's going to cover that spread because I listened to the guys' breakdown this morning, but I don't feel comfortable enough to take Nebraska because Nebraska's not even good at basketball.
I'm finally on a winning streak. I'm trying to keep it going.
You could probably convince me more to take Michigan State on the money line and maybe pair it up with something else.
I would have tried to take it, but the money line was 195, so for the lock purposes, I couldn't do that.
No, I'm saying in real life, if I was going to take Michigan State, I would pair it up with something else.
Oh, gotcha.
See, other games going on tonight. Virginia Tech is so Jekyll and Hyde. There's no way I would touch them giving 10.5 up on the road. And they play much better at home. Much better. There should be, between this and spring training, that's another reason why I don't watch the freaking the combine. I got spring training. I'm getting ready for fantasy baseball drafts. The college basketball madness is starting. And ESPN's got it littered all over. I can't even turn the ESPN on until March Madness games are actually on.
I tell you what I did yesterday, and it was awesome. I just turned on MLB Network for a couple hours, and I
don't get it anymore.
I'm sorry. Well, I don't get NFL Network right now, so we're even. But
my stepdad died on Saturday or on Sunday too. You want to talk about that?
But I just like you said, ESPN, all that, they're talking these things in the combine. I want to hear about these baseball teams. I want to hear starting rotations, lineups, compare it to others. I love that stuff, and I'm all in on it. And I'm ready for baseball season.
And how many times, I got to sit here and watch. This is why we don't talk about it on the show. People have asked me a few things about the Aaron Rodgers saga. And they have all these dopes that are obviously on salary year round for the NFL reporters and whatnot. And they have them all zoomed into their houses wherever they're at. And they're just giving their 2 cents about it. None of them have a clue where any of these guys want to go, but they're just going to get up there and fill up time. I can't even think of this lady's name. I like her as a reporter, but they're just going on and on. I've been watching this for the last 5 to 10 minutes, and that's all they've had is her yapping away with Aaron Rodgers highlights, that are going.
The next time I want to hear about him is the decision. Besides that, I don't care about his
the season doesn't start till September. Do we have to care about this now? I'm so glad that the baseball offseason is shorter and that they get to free agency immediately. That's what I like about. I still think they need to find a way to make it a little more of a build-up. But this NFL, they've taken 3 names and they've just churned them around over and over and over again. The only one that really interests me is Lamar Jackson, because I think there's a good chance that he ends up down here in Atlanta. But other than that, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, to be honest, if Derek Carr goes to the Saints, Jets, or the Panthers, I'm not thinking any of them are winning a Super Bowl anyway. So let's talk about something that's actually happening.
Yeah, I saw what Carr's going to be at the combine to talk to several teams.
Yep.
It sounds like he's going to stop off and talk to the entire NFC South and the Jets. Of course, the Jets are involved. But that's another thing. This tells you how much of a narcissist Aaron Rodgers is. He wants the attention, because if he wanted to make a damn decision and move on, he would have already said it. But instead, he wants to tell you he's going to retreat and how he's smarter than you and deeper than you. Smart people never have to tell people they're smart. What's your walk-off?
My walk-off for the day is, hey, you know what? I was watching some of the XFL over the weekend, and I'm still trying to follow along. So if they lose a lot of fans, they still got one in me. My Roughnecks are 2-0, baby. Wade Phillips, yeah.
So you were the one Nielsen rating that they're getting. I can't, man. I tried. It's trash. I can't watch it. It's absolute. It's the worst thing. It's worse than what the USFL had last year.
And while that
can play, they've just hired named coaches. My walk-off is we will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, Brian and Justin and Will be one day closer to opening day. And go Bulldogs! Let's go.
Goodbye, sweetheart, well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart, goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country comes your way weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia. Tuesday, March 7th, 6:05 Eastern, first pitch. Braves Country is bringing you Atlanta Braves, Boston Red Sox, pitch by pitch, inning by inning, from Northport, Florida at Cool Today Park. Red Sox versus Braves broadcast will begin 6 Eastern. First pitch delivered by 6:05. Catch all the action right here. Make sure to like and subscribe. Braves Country HD, youtube.com/@Braves Country for Atlanta Braves baseball all year long.